I want prosperity over austerity. Like, to me, it's like you've got to like aggressively deregulate and let people make informed decisions about what, they want to do for a living, how to run their lives. That includes things that social conservatives are not, going to be so in favor of, like sex work and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not out there championing it, but it's also, not my business to say what people need to do to earn a living. I want to get rid of the drug war. And I think that
we agree.
Also, can we just like glasses? Why is it illegal to get your prescription tested over the internet? Like, this is just stupid stuff like that. Because we're propping up like a particular industry.
Yes.
Deregulate it. And then, you know what? It's not like you're not like, oh, well, I guess I can't afford to get my eyes checked this year because it's $80. No, it's like $8. You just go online, you pay on the website, you do like a test. You're like, and then it spits out your thing and you buy another $8 frame on Amazon. And heaven forbid, like I come across as though I worship at the altar of Jeff Bezos. But people need to buy stuff and you don't have a lot of money. And that's what that crap is there for.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's like I want things to be affordable. I certainly wouldn't want to just put a bunch of austerity measures in and people can't like buy things and have comfortable lives. I want to like, do things in a certain way so that you can afford to live and you can feel like happy and comfortable. Like, I'm all about prosperity.
So do you support the idea of a living wage?
Oh, no, I don't. I don't support really like the idea of a universal minimum wage. From my perspective, companies that are going to pay you like crap should get shamed, and they should not get our business. But I also think that the increasing minimum wage has pushed out youth workers. And it has made it harder for teenagers to get to like part-time entry-level jobs. So like work at McDonald's on the weekend, you don't see that nearly as much. I had my first McDonald's job when I was 15, and it wasn't very much hours. I had to get a work permit, the whole thing. But now it's all adults.
Because that's all they can get. Like that's the job that's available. And you've got people working there that are adults with kids working that and 2 other jobs, just trying to stay afloat.
All right. So if you, and listen, I don't think it's necessarily wrong because I think that there's many ways that one can go when it comes to the minimum wage. What I think is essential in this country, and this is also one of the big problems we've had for a long time, I am a huge advocate for tuition-free public college, but more specifically tuition-free trade schools. I think people have to learn a skill. I think that is the best way to advance a society, whether you want to learn how to weld, if you want to learn how to be an electrician, if you want to learn how to, be a UAW worker on an assembly line building an automobile. As far as I'm concerned, I think that is the type of public good that I think most people can agree upon. We, as progressive-minded individuals and libertarians, no one wants to have to rely on the government for anything. You shouldn't have to rely on it. It should be the last resort of last resorts. But I also believe that the government should be working for us, not the other way around. And I think that that's the misnomer that people on the left have about libertarians, this idea of that we don't have to have any government. No, if we're going to have a government, it needs to work on behalf of the people. And right now, it does not. And so where do you stand as far as, like, learning a trade, learning a skill? Again, we're not here talking about, tuition-free college so you can go and get your liberal arts degree. But quite frankly, if you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that either. However, we do have a serious problem in this country with people working with their hands, and that's something that has to change.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that I have contempt for academia. I hold it in contempt. I hold it in very low regard. And I think that if we had a big nationwide campaign to push people towards trade schools, you would have a lot of really happy blue collar workers with 6-figure incomes, taking care of their families and feeling really good about themselves. That would be great. Because there's this ugly stigma that, school counselors and people in college admissions push on blue collar workers, where they make them feel like you're going to be like white trash if you're an electrician, or
Yeah.
that's what poor people do. It's not. That's what comfortable upper middle class people do, who can afford to have 3 kids and take them on a family vacation and visit grandma and have nice presents for Christmas. Like but instead of that, we're going to push people to like major in gender studies and minor in a foreign language. And when that doesn't work out, double down, go to grad school and do it even harder. That's just complete like insanity to me.
Yeah. Well, it's a racket.
Yeah.
It's a racket. I mean, and that's, and I am somebody who is overly educated. Like that is definitely the thing. I mean, I only paid off my student loans like last year. Finally paid off law school last year.
There is no question that academia, in particular, the managerial class academia,
Yes.
they are without question, like to me, somebody like Deborah Messing is the face of the Democratic Party establishment. Like there is no question that what they represent is not, they do not represent regular people.
No.
They represent a very, very small microcosm of society. And unfortunately, they are the ones that sit on the boards at places like Harvard and Yale and, you know, Northwestern. Sorry, Jen.
Wait, you have a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Rodwell.
Great to have you here.
Yeah,
Mom.
we've talked a lot about this lately, about the scam of higher education and what's going on with that, and how, what is it? They have like 20 different presidents, vice presidents, executives, provosts, chancellors.
And look, it's one thing if you're going to an Ivy League school, but as far as I'm concerned, you know, we don't even have these discussions anymore about where is the real value in, you know, for example, if you want to be a lawyer, you know, the best law school is not Harvard, even though they like to pretend that they are. The best law school in the United States by measures across the board is the University of Michigan. And so if they are the best law school and they're a public education school in the state of Michigan, then that's where the encouragement needs to be. But the constant push in society is always, you have to go to the most prestige and the most expensive and this and that. And it's like, it's not obtainable to the average person. You have to be able to encourage people to go in a path that is going to allow them to not have to rely on the government in order to live. And being able to have tuition-free trade schools, if progressives and libertarians can come together on an issue when it comes to education, I hope it's that, because that is one that could diametrically change this country in a very positive way.
Absolutely. Oh man, let's talk about licensure. So I've been a paralegal now for 15 years. I do partner level work. I do not do paralegal work.
Right.
And then I work at law firms where the solo practitioner or a small firm where they're struggling, they have a heavy caseload. They don't have the expertise in a certain particular area. I come in and I do the whole thing, start to finish. I do the discovery, I do the motion work, I do the meet and confer, I do the mediation, I do the whole thing, I do the trial prep, I write the trial argument, I'll sit in trial, I'll do voir dire, I'll do cross-examine, the whole thing on a chart, and they can just read it off. There are attorneys who are so grossly incompetent in practicing. Like it's huge risk. People waste thousands of dollars. They get really screwed, and it's a licensure issue. So in California, which is where I used to live, you know, I didn't want to pay to go to law school. It's extremely expensive. You have to put your life on hold and incur a massive amount of debt, which is something, you know, we've sort of touched on a little here and there. So I just continued to do paralegal work, you know, worked my way up. I really enjoyed it. And then California has something called a law study program where you can just study under the supervision of an attorney and take the bar exam, and you'll be certified to practice in California after like 4 years of that. Now, the only problem is it's not transferable to other states. There's only 3 states in the country that have this program. So I got ready to start the program. Then my husband and I were like, I think we're going to move to Texas. So I stopped. So I do the work that other people get charged $650 an hour for, that attorney literally just rubber stamps his name on, but I'm not allowed to do it outside of the state of California. Make it make sense. Like that's completely insane. And were it not for my expertise, attorneys wouldn't even be able to take on their cases and do it because they're not competent.
But you realize though, like even if you were bar certified or whatever, you would still not necessarily have that transferable to any other state. It just depends. Like I'm licensed.
Oh, no, it would. I'd be able to take the test. I'd be able to take the bar in another state.
Yeah, you could take the bar.
But not but not if you do the California program. Then you have to go to a law school and take.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
From my perspective, like a lot of the licensure issues that we have really keep people from getting the services that they could have that they need at an affordable rate, and from keeping people like myself from attaining upward economic mobility. Like,
and you know why though, right? It's totally just revenue. It's revenue for the state. And that's one of the biggest things. And the bars, the different bar associations are completely in lockstep with that.
100%.
And whether it's, and then they subsidize Barbary or whoever, I don't even know who does what.
With colleges, corporations, and our government. They all are like, no. We'll all agree that everybody has to pay this much to play.
Yeah. And they're all in on it, and then nobody else can get in.
Yep.
That's the thing. And if you were able to just go do that without all of those licensing steps, then why would anybody pay all those licensing fees if anybody could just go do that?
Right. The thing that I did on the side was I did unlawful detainer assistance for people who were in fights with their landlord. You know, and a lot of libertarians, their like heads explode. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you were helping people fight their landlord." They aggressively take the side of the landlord, and I'm like, "Well, settle down. You know, people are human beings, and they need help sometimes negotiating. And believe it or not, sometimes a landlord might screw someone over and do something dishonest. And technically, that's it's a gray area what I'm allowed to do." But like, let's be real. If I've been doing it for 12 years, you think I'm not going to give someone every single little thing that they can and arm them so that they can go into court and defend themselves? Of course I am, And,
right.
And I just assume the risk because I think it's the right thing to do. And I'm responsible and I'm not going to give someone bad advice. But it is pretty outrageous that I can't just be licensed to give advice in my expert field.
Right.
Angela, one of the biggest, probably roadblocks, I would say, especially when it comes to, libertarians' hard line of deregulation, the environment is a huge problem because I think that there is, on the one hand, I think that there's an area that there is considerable crossover appeal. I happen to be, again, Jen, you have a completely anarchistic way of looking at this, but I really am an advocate for nuclear power. I think it is the only way that we can conceivably get off of coal and natural gas. The biggest issue that I have, particularly with hydraulic fracturing, which Trump that's the biggest issue I have with Trump getting back in the White House. He is a huge advocate for continuing the drilling around the country. And yet what you'll find is that when it comes to hydraulic fracturing, any of the people who stand to benefit from that or advocate for it or invest in it, they'll never allow a fracking well anywhere near their properties. So I find it, obviously everything is hypocritical at that level. But where do you stand when it comes to the environment? I mean, again, we know the whole deal when it comes to the Green New Deal, but when it comes to clean drinking water, when it comes to
regulations for clean air and clean drinking water,
where do the libertarians stand when it comes to the environment?
Yeah, I think that privatization and property rights helps a lot of it. A lot of the challenges. I want clean water, and I think that if an organization pollutes the water, they shouldn't just pay a fine to the government and keep polluting. They should get sued and probably shut down or punished in a way that's more than just a slap on the wrist.
Yes.
I think a lot of the fine systems that we have in place right now, they're like, oh no, $300 million. Pull out my checkbook and write it.
Yeah.
Doing it. And that's not okay. I think we need some major reforms. And I do think that it's not just more regulation. I don't think that regulation is the answer, because regulation at this point is just pay to play. It's just like, well, I can afford to, dump a bunch of oil on your seagulls, screw your seagulls, haha, baby seals. And that's gross. That's really gross. And it's a problem too, when you have runoff from factory farms and people get sick because there's E. coli in the lettuce. That's just gross.
I would outlaw factory farming. I would outlaw it, not even a hesitation. I mean, that's how food gets poisoned.
Yes, disgusting.
It's everything. And again, it's not because, we have so many more people to feed. It's how much more profit.
Yes, and that's the truth. And they get away with violations because, like you said, it's a pay to play. If these industries were actually held to regulations and those were actually enforced regularly, then we wouldn't have half the problems we have in whatever industry. It's that we know that there's rules, but rules are made to be paid to not have to follow.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I think factory farming is pretty vile. I'd be really careful about shutting things down in mass before I knew how much it was going to make the cost of food go up. That's my only concern. It's definitely not anything in support of factory farming.
Agreed.
What else? Air quality. I think that there are a lot of technological developments that are going to continue to make our air cleaner. And I think that we should allow those, and we should not let regulatory capture stop them. So when I think about, regulations, sometimes, like, I'm probably thinking about something different than you guys might be. Like, you're thinking about regulations to keep a system of checks and balances on Chevron and major corporations that would be polluting. I'm thinking of, like, what is hindering new economic innovation that helps us get away from fossil fuels?
Can I answer that question?
Sure.
For 1,000, Alex, those corporations spend tens of millions of dollars on both political parties every year to get them to not touch a damn thing. That's the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's one where I'm curious what you guys think about this. I'm not in favor of intellectual property. I'm in favor of trade secrets. I think you certainly have a right to keep your secrets. If someone violates your agreement to keep it a secret, you can sue them. Not in favor of intellectual property. So I'm not in favor of.
You know what? I don't have a real position on that. I don't think I've ever really given it that much thought to have a position.
We've never actually, I don't think we've ever had a conversation.
And it's funny because in law school, obviously, that is such a specialized niche. And the people that do that, they're all like engineer, wonky, nerdy science people that go into patent law and all that. But I don't know. I'd be open to. I'm definitely
That's
open.
What drives up the cost of all of the medicines.
Oh yeah, but I think that other countries do a lot better job of protecting their citizens from being raped by those same pharmaceutical companies that we are allowed to be raped by.
You have the FDA, and they're a little like crazy circus that you have to go through, unless it's COVID shots, and then they'll just send that right through, and there's no checks and balances there. But you'll take years to develop something, and you have to pay all of this money to get it approved by the FDA. Yeah. And then you have a giant patent, like guarding you for however many years until that expires. And it makes the cost for the consumer just like skyrocket.
Yeah.
What was his name? Martin Shkreli, like the guy who.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. Oh, I agree. Yeah, I'd be very open to that. I don't know enough about intellectual property law to make like any valid points, but I'm very open to that. Like I have no position on that, actually.
Cool. I would love to make drugs affordable by just taking that away from them. And then it's just a competition. Guard your secrets. And if you don't guard your secrets, you're out of luck.
Yeah. I'm cool with that. I mean, I know as it is now, like it's ridiculously long amount of time before anything can even be made into a generic.
And the same with technological innovations. Because, the other thing that companies do is someone will get a patent to something, and then someone else will come, some large company will come and buy that out and then sit on it and never use it. And so you've got, all these different models of electric cars that were stalled out and delayed because somebody bought the patent and sat on it. It's like there's so many like cool things happening just in the world, and because of intellectual property, we never find out.
We never find out. Yeah, I'm open to that. I'm not. I don't do bans or mandates. I wasn't with COVID. I'm not with any of that. I don't believe in bans or mandates. I'm extremely civil libertarian. I just very much am a bleeding heart and believe in a social safety net. But when it comes to people doing what they want to do and consenting adults, I don't even want to be having those discussions. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not in. So like, I'm fine with the Second Amendment. I'm fine with all the amendments. I don't care. Live and let live.
Although
for consenting adults. Well, if it involves children, then that's everybody's business.
This kind of brings everything full circle, because you've said that because of the fact that we haven't heeded our most intelligent founding father. I know people say it's Thomas Jefferson, but it's really Ben Franklin. When he says, if you're willing to give up if you value security,
you're willing to sacrifice your security.
If you're willing to sacrifice your liberty for security, you deserve neither.
Yeah.
And I think we're living in a time now, especially post 9/11, where people were immediately willing to give up their security.
Well, I actually read the Patriot Act. I read it when it came out. Most of Congress did not. They signed it anyway. They just signed it. They didn't
You don't
even
think
read it.
Hillary Clinton read the Patriot Act?
None of them read it. I remember that very clearly. And I remember reading it, and I was going through it with a highlighter. I'm like, well, there goes our Fourth Amendment. Check.
So insane. Yeah. It's so
And
nuts.
then you could read it. And then you had Obama extend it. And all of it, which is why when people are like, somehow the Democrats are better, I'm like, not for civil liberties. I don't know what you're talking about. So when it comes to that stuff, I'm always going to side live and let live. Always. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.